Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Wayne County. I'm Karen Skubik, the membership coordinator here, and we are a diverse congregation that welcomes you as you are, regardless of your age, ethnicity, race, sexual orientation, gender identity, economic status, or physical ability. We come together to seek deeper meaning and understanding from each other and the world around us. Your presence here today is a gift that brings us closer to that understanding. We are an active community that lives its values beyond the hours of Sunday service, and I would like to call your attention to the following. Our all-church picnic, the last splash of summer, is Sunday, August 18th, which is 2 weeks from today, and you should have a handout that you received on your way in about that. And it's at Loyal Oak Lake Park. Anyone who's gone previous years know it's a great time. Worship will be at the lake park at 10:30, and I think it's a little shorter service than usual. And we will have a charcoal grill and a pavilion for eating and hanging out. There's a lake for swimming and slides, inflatables, mini golf, volleyball, chickens, lots of shady trees, playgrounds, and more. Please, what's that? It's fun, says Juan. That's his endorsement. Please bring a dish to share. The grill will be ready to go after the worship. Please reach out to Jenny if you can help out and with the grill or setting up the pavilion for lunch. Details are in the August newsletter and, as I said, in the flyer you received today. I also want to note this past week this place turned into a magical place. And our building, though, I don't think we really always need the flowers and all these special things to get the magical feeling. I think it's already a magical place. Just, the connections that we build when people have the good feeling inside of helping each other, our pastoral care team that listens to people. So I think it already is a pretty magical place, but it was made extra magical this week thanks to Jenny and everyone else. So I look forward to hearing what they have to say. I hope you all do too. And if you have any questions about anything else about our congregation or membership, I'll be in the back of the sanctuary after the service. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ms. Honeybee, and I'm wondering if you think, where am I? Well, when you went through the gate, the entrance this morning, you have arrived in Univelarian. This is a parallel dimension to which all those that have open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands can travel to this dimension. The Fantastickal Forest is one of the magical places in Univelarian. It's got a lush landscape, lots of beautiful trees. Some of those trees are familiar. Some of them might be just a little different and completely unique to Univelarian. There's lots of animals and insects in abundance. I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure this out. Animals and insects in abundance, and there's mushrooms and other fungi that pop up all over the forest floor, as well as kind of high up in the very grand trees. Beautiful bird song rings out all day. And the treetops just kind of go shh, whoosh, whoosh, back and forth. Well, I am a director of the Fantastickal Forest Guild, and when I am not in Univelarian, my name is Jenny, and I'm the director of religious education here. But as I said, my name is Ms. Honeybee. Everyone who enters the Fantastickal Forest can't help but kind of feel an overwhelming sense of calm and comfort. And so it's no surprise that Guild Hall, where you are, and is a center dedicated to the study and practice of one's faith. And it was founded in the forest in Univelarian because of this welcoming environment. It's the ideal settings. So that, my friends, is where you have found yourself this morning. It's the last day of the annual meeting of the Fantastickal Forest Guild, and you are attending that meeting. Welcome. Let's get started on our adventure together. As we begin our time together, I would like to ask each chamber of our guild to bring their piece of the guild chalice forward. So first we will start with the chamber of Fantastickal and ask them to bring forward our base on which we can rest our chalice. Restaria, please bring forward the bowl of our chalice. Thank you, Nimbus. And Wunderlist, please bring forward our candle. And Actilatus chamber, please bring forward the flame and the light of action.
And I'm going to lead us in our chamber, our chalice lighting. If we can go to the next slide. I think it's the next slide. There we go. Please say it with me. We light our guild chalice with our hearts and chambers united. We build trust through accountability. We know rest is productive. We see wonder all around us, and we take action to make change.
Please rise as you are willing and able and join us as we sing our opening hymn, number 118 in the gray hymnal, This Little Light of Mine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
So everyone, I want to introduce myself twice. In my normal human world, I'm Delisa Randall Griffiths, but in Univalaria, I am Lady Lorificus, keeper of the stories. And today, I want to share with you the story of how Univalaria and the Fantastic Forest Guild came to be. So a long, long time ago, children, just a few of them, teleported to a parallel dimension called Univalaria. And in their favorite place in that dimension, the Fantastickal Forest, they met Perry, the raccoonicorn. He goes, it is they, them are the pronouns. They were rainbow color and so much fun to be with. And Perry taught them all about the magic of Univalaria. Well, one day, one of those children noticed that on Perry's forehead, there was this little black shape that looked like a chalice. And Perry had never heard of a chalice. Perry had no idea what they were talking about. So these children who had been part of Unitarian Universalism explained all about the chalice and then started explaining all the different values of Unitarian Universalism, like things like equity and pluralism, transformation, interconnectedness, justice, generosity. And you know, the more they told Perry what these things meant, the more they realized they kind of understood them a little better themselves. They were actually kind of complicated things, but the more they talked about it, and sometimes they would build little structures in the forest to show what it meant, and they realized it was kind of like playing school. And they were teaching Perry all about Unitarian Universalism. Well, he then started teaching them all about Univalaria, how they could become different persona. They didn't have to always be their earth self. They could be magical creatures that were maybe part deer, part fish. They could become butterflies. They could be anything they wanted to be. So they began to play together. Well, it was time for them to leave, and so they left the Fantastical Forest in Univalaria, but they decided every summer they would come back, and they did. And every time they came back, more and more children came with them, and it began to become this group, this Univalaria Fantastical Forest Guild. Now, at first they didn't have a building, but you know, you don't need a building. You just gathered the people together. So they started gathered together, but then they, sometimes their crafts got ruined by rain or the wind blew things away. And so they built like a little structure at first with just kind of twigs and sticks and string and things like that, kind of a little rough clubhouse. Well, the more that came each year, they had to get a bigger and bigger space. And finally, they had an official building, and they were an official guild meeting every year, where the magic of Univalaria blended with the values of Unitarian Universalism, and everyone taught everyone else the things they had learned throughout the year and how they had grown and transformed. Well, Perry is shy. And Perry was okay with just a few children, but the more and more it grew, the more and more that they were not comfortable. So the children came up with a plan. They used magic and created magic portraits where Perry could live in the portrait and observe everything that was going on. And sometimes Perry would pop out of that portrait, but only with an invisibility bubble, and see what was going on in the guild. And Perry loved seeing all the activities. He loved it when tie-dye shirts made everyone look like him with rainbow colors. And he decided his best way to interact was to write notes. So he would write little notes and letters to the children all the time, and they could write letters back to him. And so this went on for many, many years. And Perry watched children grow and learn and change and come back and become guides each year and help other children learn and grow. And we had this whole thing happen just this week here in our building. The magic came alive. The participants became whatever persona they wanted, their human self or a magical self. And together, we all learned from each other about the values that we all hold near and dear.
Thank you, Lady Lorificus. So as she said, the guild members began gathering here on Sunday, and there were 14 children and youth and around 16 adult guides all throughout the week. They met each day and over the week, starting last Sunday, and it ended on Friday. And on Friday, we had a fantastical frozen feast that Perry provided for us. Perry, the raccoonicorn, of course, our guild mascot. Some of our members have joined us here for this last moment. Some of our members couldn't be here, but they are definitely here online. And let's wave hello. Let's wave hello to Loliana. I'm pretty sure Flintmaster and probably Madam Natural are watching us right now because they couldn't be here, and maybe others. So if you attended the guild meeting this week or helped us prepare for the guild meeting this week, I would love for you to just come up here for a minute so everybody can see those. On Sunday, we spent time exploring the value of transformation, and we transformed our shirts. That's one of the things that we did. Come on up here if you were here this week. Yeah. Or if you made treats to help our week go, or if you helped build and get the facility and the guild running and kept it running. So some people chose a new name, some people chose some characteristics, but that wasn't required. And of course, all of us are really very unique already. And our names that we were given are pretty magical as well. So those, some people have chosen to carry those. So if you would introduce yourself by your fantastical persona.
I chose Sarn and Feather, although we didn't use it very much.
I was Miss Mariposa.
She is Miss Mariposa.
I am. I was Benjamin.
I was the snack master. He was a villager.
I was Lady Lorificus.
I am Nimbus.
I'm Whisper.
And this is Sausage.
We wanted to take a moment to initiate you into one of our rituals. It's the time-honored tradition of community song. So please rise as you are willing and able, and Whisper will lead us in this community song.
All right. So this is a repeat after me song
This is a repeat after me song
and a do as I do song.
and a do as I do song.
So the song is called Tarzan. Tarzan,
Tarzan,
swinging from a rubber band,
swinging from a rubber band,
crashed into the frying pan.
crashed into the frying pan.
Now Tarzan has a tan,
Now Tarzan has a tan,
and I hope it doesn't peel
and I hope it doesn't peel
like a banana.
like a banana.
Jane,
Jane,
flying in an airplane,
flying in an airplane,
crashed into the traffic lane.
crashed into the traffic lane.
Now Jane has a pain.
Now Jane has a pain.
And Tarzan has a tan.
And Tarzan has a tan.
And I hope it doesn't peel
And I hope it doesn't peel
like a banana.
like a banana.
Cheetah,
Cheetah,
dancing to the beat-a.
dancing to the beat-a,
Crashed into the street-a.
crashed into the street-a.
Now Cheetah is Velveeta.
Now Cheetah is Velveeta.
And Jane has a pain.
And Jane has a pain.
And Tarzan has a tan.
And Tarzan has a tan.
And I hope it doesn't peel
And I hope it doesn't peel
like a banana.
like a banana. Good job, everybody. Nothing like a little song to get the community together. You may all return to your seats if you would like. Thank you for coming up here. We have several more if you want to stay for the after show. You know, we can sing lots of songs later if you would like. Each of you has come here with your identity. And as we move through our guild gathering today, I want you, as people who have attended the Univelarian Fantastickal Forest Guild today, to consider choosing a fantastical persona for yourself for your time here in Univalaria. It's defined, fantastical is defined as kind of anything magical, anything mythical, playful, fanciful, whimsical. I love that word, whimsy. Or fantasy-like. Think about your favorite hobbies, books, places, animals, activities. And a little later, you'll get a chance to introduce yourself to your neighbors. It's a tradition of the Guild for the members to take time in their gatherings each day this week to quiet themselves and share and listen to each other. We chose to look for a rose, a bud, and a thorn in our lives. A rose is something that brings joy, delight, positive energy to your life. A bud is something that may be just beginning or growing in your life, something you're looking forward to. And the thorn is that might involve a difficulty or a sorrow or some grief or fear. Take a moment to consider what those things may be for you in your life right now. A rose, a bud, or a thorn. For those of you who would like to join in our stone and water ritual, you may come forward as we sing to place your joy or sorrow upon a stone and then place the stone in the water. You can allow those ripples the water creates, those ripples of community, and know that there is support and concern and celebration for your joys that you may also place in the water. We have here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Wayne County a lay pastoral team. If you find that you need someone to talk to in more detail about your concerns, you can contact Reverend Walter or a member of the lay pastoral team and ask that you set up an appointment to do that. Today, if you would have a need for that, I think Sue Gross is here. You may ask Sue. She's a member of that team. So please join as we sing the meditative hymn, Spirit of Life, that's in the gray hymnal 123, and we will begin our ritual. we hold all of the joys and the sorrows that have gone unspoken of those who are with us in our online community. May our shared presence be a blessing on hearts, on this community, and may this blessing extend outward into the greater world. I'd like to introduce you to each chamber that we had in the Fantastickal Forest Guild today. We had 2 chambers that had younger members, and 1 chamber with our youth, and 1 chamber of the adults who were not affiliated with another chamber. These are their banners. Miss Moss has created those banners for us. You may know them in another world as Emma Goknar. Just as there are 4 chambers in the human heart, our guild is organized around 4 chambers of guild members, and they kind of lean very heavily on this mushroom mycelial metaphor, as the mycelium being the heart of the forest. And the magical mycelium that live below the fantastical forest represents that love that is central to our faith of Unitarian Universalism. And so the members of the UUFWC have always respected and revered mycelium. They understand that it is an important part of building trust and connection in Univelarian. As you saw earlier, each chamber is responsible for caring for a piece of the guild chalice. The adult members of every chamber are called myceliars, and it is their duty to use the teachings of the mycelium to build community among their members. Each chamber is represented by a different mushroom. Mushrooms being that fruiting body of the unseen mycelium, that heart of the forest. And they are represented by a virtue, a guiding principle or a concept. And over the week, each chamber spent time exploring their virtue. So Perry, the raccoonicorn, loves stories that include them as a character. So the children of the chambers and the children and youth of the chambers each created a story about their particular virtue to entertain and thank Perry for being our guild guardian. And we are going to hear from those chambers today. So first is a story from the Wonderless chamber. There's our Wonderless chamber. They are the advocate for and the supporter of the virtue of wonder. The virtue of wonder says, we celebrate that we don't know everything. In fact, we don't even know how much we don't know. If we're aware of this, it allows us to open ourselves to curiosity and appreciation, expecting to learn new things and understanding old things in new ways. Choosing a sense of wonder when given the opportunity is a holy thing. Go to the next slide. This is one photo of the Wonderless chamber. That is Madame Natural and Sir Fratricus, as well, were leading, Sir Fratricus, who were leading that guild. You may know them as Nancy Hurt and Tyler Keating. Tyler had to jet off somewhere. If we go to the next slide, and you will see Elan has joined in their place, otherwise known as Peg, for the rest of the chamber. They created a story together about the virtue of wonder. for Perry. Their story said, Perry is everywhere, but they move a lot and they like to play and hide and go seek. And they were playing one day and got tired and they went to eat berries. And Mr. Wolf, dun dun, found Perry and started chasing them to bring food back for their owner. Well, then Perry teleported into a void. When that happened, the wolf was still running and fell into a river full of piranhas. Finally, you don't know what's in the fantastical forest. Finally, Perry found a door and went through it, and they got teleported back to where they wanted to be in the forest. And this is a story of wonder. I'd like to introduce our mycelium of the Actylatus chamber.
So we were the Chamber of Action, and one of our chamber members is going to read our virtue statement. This is a villager from the Actylatus chamber.
Virtue of action. We recognize that good things don't just happen, they are made to happen. Justice doesn't just arrive out of the blue. It is demanded and fought for. Our ability to create change in the world by taking action is a holy thing.
So we came up with a story about action that involved Perry, and we recorded our story. So what I really want to ask all of you to do is put your best listening ears into work so that you might hear our story.
The sealed flame.
Once upon a time in the fantastical forest far, far away, there was a family of raccoonicorns. The forest was their home. One of the raccoonicorns' name was Perry. They are the main character.
They were getting a new lighter, but what they didn't know is that lighter was a seal. The next day they used it, but it has a mind of its own and it tipped itself. But it was outside because Perry was cold. But then the fire grew and grew. Then Perry called for the other animals, but everyone was at a wedding reception and no one could hear him. And then a star's core fused with the fire.
What's the stars?
So Perry decided that they needed to go find help. The fire was just too much for them to confine alone. Luckily, Perry's family was in the fantastical forest for a wedding. Perry found his family loudly enjoying the wedding reception. The music was playing. Raccoonicorns were dancing, fireworks were going off. Perry ran up to his cousin to ask for help, but their cousin shushed them and went back to dancing the limbo. Next, Perry tried their Uncle Bob. Uncle Bob was DJing and being very loud and didn't even notice Perry. Aunt Sarah saw Perry, but she was too distracted eating snail cake to notice he was asking for help. Perry decided he needed to move on in the forest to find different helpers.
As Perry ran through the forest, they realized the new guild may not help them. But Perry had lost all hope. They ran through the guild hall and met a crowd. Someone stepped forward and asked, "Do you need help?" Perry responded, "Who are you?" "I am Flintmaster, second tier dwarven blacksmith." The dwarf's arm and leg muscles showed hundreds of hours in the forge and in the mines. "How can you help me?" Perry wondered. "The forest is burning. I can get the assistance of the dwarves. They will use their magic to extinguish the fire. I'm guessing you'll be along the river?" Perry nodded, panting. Flintmaster took off, then began a teleportation ritual once he was far enough away from the crowd. The others in the guild crowded around Perry as they headed for the river. The fire ravenously tore at trees and homes, turning them to piles of ash. Perry and the others went to the widest part of the river, and summoned a giant tidal wave to wash over the hungry flames. The flames sent swirling tornadoes of flame raging toward the wave. They fought for hours. Where were the dwarves? At midday, the flames were beginning to push back the tsunami, like a child snapping a stick, slow but inevitable. As Perry's last hopes dwindled, a veritable flood of dwarves began pouring from a portal. Wizards, smiths, and warriors all shoved their magic into the river. As their force joined the fight, the wave hit the fire like a rock smashing through glass, easily, instantly, and unstoppably. The last flame died, and the wave retreated to the river, leaving the fantastical forest a dark mess. We're good.
In the end, the animals went back to the fantastical forest. Some of their homes were ruined. Theo led a crew to build new homes. Everybody pitched in. Sausage called the Axolotl army to help clean up and check to be sure everyone was okay. Pixie took pictures of all of it. The villagers were throwing instant water potions where the fire had been to be sure it didn't come back. And Jude brought the fire-eating frog army to eat the sparks so the fire couldn't start again. Perry's whole family came and said, "We are so sorry that we didn't listen to you. And we are so happy the fire is gone and will never return again." And while everyone hugged and made up, Flintmaster, who knew fire well, thought he saw a seed of fire drop into the earth near a rock. And when he looked on the other side of the rock, it said,
Unless.
That is a wonderful taste of a weeks-long imaginary, fantastical world. Our next chamber is the Restaria chamber, and this chamber was made up of our youth spirits and their adult guides. They held a unique place as youth members who assisted in the smooth running of our guild meeting. Their myceliar is Liliana, a well-meaning water sprite who keeps accidentally putting people to sleep. You may know them as Joe Harper. I think they may be watching. And their capable assistant, Nimbus Cloud.
So in Restaria, their virtue is rest. We know that our worth is not defined by our productivity. We owe nobody the meeting of expectations at the cost of our physical, mental, or emotional well-being. Prioritizing the care of our mind, body, and spirit, and giving ourselves the time we need to rest is holy. And our group made a story about Perry the Raccoonicorn.
They were never all in one place at one time, so.
The next slide, okay. So our story is called Perry and the Storm, and each of the people in the group colored a different set of pictures. It is the first day of the Univelarian Fantastickal Forest Guild Camp, and Perry the Raccoonicorn is very excited to set up decorations for the week. They made cupcakes and beautiful flower arrangements, anxious for the approval of the campers. Suddenly, a storm rolls in. "Oh no," yelled Perry. "The storm ruined the decorations." Oh.
Nope.
Okay. Well.
You read the rest of the story.
Okay. Scared, Perry runs to a nearby barn for shelter. Inside the barn, Perry finds a sleeping cat spirit. Perry woke the cat up by accident walking in. They tell the cat of their anxiety of what the campers might think about the ruined decorations. The wise cat spirit offered some advice. "Would you like to know what I do when I'm anxious?" he said. Perry nodded. "I take a nap," the cat said simply. Perry decided to take that advice and fell asleep on a straw bale. Perry has a thoughtless nap. Once Perry wakes up, the campers have already arrived. Perry and the cat spirit hear laughter and joy outside. The cat spirit says to Perry, "See, they don't need fancy decorations to have fun." And rest is endorsed by Perry the Raccoonicorn. The end.
Thank you, Whisper. We will have all of those illustrations out for you on the table, on Restaria's table later. They were lovely. Those are our reports back and our entertainment from the chambers. Our faith is centered in the belief that we can make this world a better place for all who dwell in it. The Fantastickal Forest Guild shares a similar value. In order to realize that vision, we need both the motivation and the means. Your donation helps the community put its faith into action by supporting our programming and our facilities. This morning and throughout the month of August, donations that are not designated for another purpose will be split with the Central American Medical Outreach, also known as CAMO. They provide medical services, community development, training, and education to impoverished people. The offering will now be taken and gratefully accepted. that is a taste of our week, and we have more for you later at the end of the service. I wish I could help you understand or see it all, but I hope you enjoy looking through those.
Please join me in saying the dedication of the offering. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. Let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others.
We had so much fun, and we all, little and big, worked so hard over the last few weeks. The amount of time and effort of every adult involved in the day-to-day workings of the Guild meeting, or in the preparation for hosting the Guild meeting in the weeks ahead, of the meeting, the folks both behind the scenes and right in the thick of the forest, is a gift to this community. And it is the embodiment of practicing multi-generational faith development. Those magical beings from age 6 to some age decades well beyond that created a fantastical world, but it came alive when we inhabited it. There are plenty of adults in the world who perceive fantasy and make-believe as just too silly to be useful when we are facing some really real injustices, some dreadful, truly injustices in the world. However, you may have heard of Dr. Anthony Pinn. He's a professor of humanities and religious studies at Rice University. He gave a powerful keynote to the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association back about 2 years ago, talking about the role of fantasy in liberation. In a very short and very incomplete summary, his key concept was that when current systems are inherently flawed and unjust, there is no amount of working within those systems which will result in a new liberated world. Rather than being limited by the constraints of oppressive systems, fantasy allows us to construct a world where those systems don't exist. They're not there. Opening our mind beyond the harsh realities to fantasizing, opening our mind to the possibility of those joyful possibilities, and then saying yes to those possibilities. Working and collaborating to bring them to fruition. This is how we become free. So perhaps that sounds a little grand for a church summer camp program. Big aspirations. But using what's called a LARP, L-A-R-P, a live action role play, that kind of experience, it's to help members practice that very kind of thinking, liberating ourselves from those constraints. When everyone at the UFFG, playing their various parts, commits to the roles and the narrative of the program, and then takes questions like, how does a mermaid move around Guild Hall if it's not underwater? We take that question seriously. And then collaborative thinking to try and solve those things. That collaborative purpose allows us to stretch those fantasizing muscles, let go of limitations, which in our day-to-day lives really seem immutable. In short, make-believe, silliness, magic, and fantasy are not present to make the learning fun for the members. They're the most important lesson, some of the most important lessons in themselves. For them. For us. We already live in a world of imagination, right? This world has been imagined. The question isn't about whether or not to imagine, it's about fantasy. It's about realizing that we have a choice of the imaginations, that we can dig into a fantasy world and make the choice to imagine liberation, wholeness, and healing. The fantasy for liberation requires that we see the sacred in the everyday. The fantasy that liberation requires imagines accountability as a blessing. The imagination that liberation requires is not controlled by fear, and it encourages action. It likes evidence and honesty. It requires rest. It requires wonder. And it requires work. The imagination liberation requires holds comfort and discomfort for us. So Univelarian, you're still here. It's a world of all sorts of marvelous possibilities which we can each explore as ourselves or using our magical made-up personas. A wonderful realm that allowed us and will continue to allow us to explore our faith beyond the confines of the real world. There's no constriction to what we can do and what we can be as Unitarian Universalists in the world of Univelarian. We can practice our beliefs and we could put our values to action in fantastical ways. Each one of these is a metaphor for a way that we might be able to take what we practiced here and walk it out. Walk it out. It helps to practice where there's not so many constraints, not so many things, knocking it down, and practice and take it out into the real world. Playful exploration allows us to try on different identities and personas, not the ones that anyone else has to say for us. We get to discover new parts of ourselves, and while we're here, our Univelarian friends validate that. Imagine being able to travel to an alternate dimension where you can take on a fantastical persona. Imagine that. An alternate, leave everything else behind. Right? Imagine that you can do that. And then you get to explore the world of make-believe with your friends. So while come the end of camp week, the world of Univelarian gets left behind, the experience, the stories, and the lessons will magically live on. And that is what we had a chance to do. Can you imagine? I asked you earlier to imagine your fantastical persona while you are here in Univelarian. Just for a moment, I would like you to turn to a neighbor and share your fantastical persona and what it means to you. I'll remind you, we have Lady Lorificus, the keeper of the stories. Nimbus Cloud has joined us all week. We had Liliana, a well-meaning water sprite who kept accidentally putting people to sleep. My name is Ms. Honeybee, the protector of the bees. Everyone shared in that. So I'm going to let you take just a minute or two before we wind up and share that with your neighbor. When you hear the chime, we'll join back together. about Whisper. Thank you for sharing your fantastical selves with each other. And perhaps while you're gathering a snack or some of the fantastical frozen feast treat that we had on Friday, which we have brought to share with you as well, you could ask someone else about their fantastical persona, or you could share that with them. Begin to imagine the world we can bring into being when we let go of the current structures. Imagine that world that begins in love, is motivated by love, and is responsible to love. Now let's rise in body or spirit as we sing our closing hymn. The music can be found in the teal hymnal. It's number 1017. We are building a new way. We're going to sing verses 1, 3, and 4. And let's make it sound like we believe it. Members of the Univelarian Fantastical Forest Guild, children, youth, and adults. As director of this guild, I want you to know that this gathering here, okay, that doesn't sound very good. This gathering here today, myself and this group of people, to all of you who participated, we offer you great gratitude, all of you. Time, work, play, silliness, and talent that made our fantasy come alive. Your time here was holy. And now we will extinguish our guild chalice for the last time this year, and we will soon be returning to our real lives. So if Actolatus could please take the flame and hold on to it just here for a moment. And if Wunderlist could please get our candle. If Rastaria could please take the bowl. Oh, great. And Akaunakali, please take the base. You may place them near Perry's portrait, and we can trust that Perry will care for our chalice and for Guildhall until we are able to return next year. Please join me, all of you, to read the extinguishing words in unison from the screen. We extinguish our guild chalice, but carry its warmth always in our hearts. During our postlude, you're getting the dump that Pixie Keating created for us. Pixie, our photographer, Kristen Keating. Thank you. And blessed be. You can keep them running if you'd like. You don't have to sit here, but the kids might like to see some of them too. Oh, golly, I'm sorry. You make it up.